Hello, my friends. Big Mark here, back together with the secrets behind the red doors. Last episode was great. My friend Kevin, he'll be back, I promise you that. But today I got some more stories. I want to keep the flow going so you hear all the great stuff. You know, funny thing is, after that episode with Kevin, more stories came out that people really don't know. And like I said, my friend called me and asked me, Mark says, why all of a sudden now? I said, well, listen, it's something that should be told. I'm sorry about the guys making up stories. The guys didn't really know John or the Bergen. I was there every day. You know, I'm a pretty independent guy. I run by my own, my own machine, how's it say? I left there right after John got convicted, had some bad things. I left there for a reason. I wanted to raise my boy. I promised I wouldn't let him down, that was my reason for it. But after all these years and these people and the more stories, and I don't even want to mention, not worth the time. It's time you hear the intricacies, the personalities, the real truth about that life in that Bergen. A lot of it's funny, a lot of it's kooky, but you know what? A lot of it's all real. Every one. And I'll have Kevin back, maybe have another guest. And all we're doing is not judging people, just talking about a time. One story that's a classic. I have to say it. I've never told it, but it's a true story. It's early in the 80s. So on Wednesday nights, John used to have his dinner. And I'm telling you, 40 guys at the table, guys in the back, guys at the bar, guys on the side, from all over the place, just eating dinner. So as the tables were set up and John was getting ready to eat, they're cooking in the back in the kitchen. There was a lot of kids, young guys that hung around. There was a guy, Kid Jerry, the degenerate horse player, used to run errands and all that stuff too for everybody there. So Johnny has a jacket he bought in a store called Richfield's. He didn't like it. Didn't like the way it looked. So he says to Jerry, and he says, Jerry, I want you to go to King's Plaza, which is in Brooklyn, about 20 minutes away on the Bell Parkway. He says, go there, go to Richfield's, return this jacket. I have something waiting there. Pick it up and bring me back my 50 clams. Go. He tells the kid Angelo, young kid, teenager, take him, drive him. They're sitting down, dinner starts, everybody arrives, the food's there. An hour goes by. 90 minutes go by. And Johnny said, but where's this fucking kid? I sent him 20 minutes away just to return the jacket and get my money back. All of a sudden, the door opens. Jerry comes walking in with a smile on his face. And he's carrying a large bag, a large sack. And Johnny says, there you are. What the hell happened to you? All you do is return the jacket, pick up something, and get my 50 back. He says, John, you don't understand. After we left the mall, I went down, towards the parkway, and they had the fish stores, Jordan's fish stores, all along the road there. He says, I got to get Johnny the clams. And Johnny's looking at him. Everybody starts looking at it. He says, so I go in the market. I said, listen, I want to buy 50 clams. And the girl looks behind the counter and says, I can't sell clams by number count. I sell them by the dozen. You want 4 dozen? I'll sell you 4 dozen. And Jerry's telling his story to John, and they're just stunned. People are looking with their mouths open. He goes, so I'm telling the person, no, you don't understand. My friend John wants 50 clams. If I don't bring back 50 clams, he's going to be pissed off at me. And the woman says, you don't understand. I could only sell you 4 dozen. He says, can I speak to the manager? Manager comes over. All of a sudden, Jerry talks him into he gets 50 clams. He pays the guy. Says, I come back in. I got you 50 clams. He put them on a table. Johnny says, you actually got me 50 clams? Are you fucking retarded? And everybody at the table just broke out laughing. He thought the 50 clams meant real, legitimate clams. See, not $50. Johnny says, you're fucking nuts. He took the bag of clams. He tossed them at him. This story is a classic. Guys repeat this story from the streets, different neighborhoods. Johnny got to get his 50 clams. He brought him back 50 clams. The shellfish. This is what I'm talking about. So Johnny's personality about and he told this story over and over. This is some of the happenings that went in this club. Imagine this. A guy really told, that's this lifestyle. And some of these guys, didn't pay attention. You know, Johnny says, yeah, you probably had your mind in the third race of Belmont or the Yonka Trotters tonight. That's why you didn't pay attention. You don't know what 50 clams is? But this story was even put in a book as a statement. That's a true story. So, you know, these are parts of the happenings back then, just little things. And you gotta stand at the table, had to be 30, 40 wise guys and friends, close friends, Willie Boy, you know. That's part of the stories. I want to share them with you because if you don't know these stories, I want you to pick them up because, like I says, I'm not doing this podcast or eventual TV show, hopefully, to talk bad about anybody. I think this was an era that was amazing in the 80s to the 90s. So, you know, and I want to tell these stories. Besides the other stories, you'll get them intermingled, but I don't want to be a full-bodied show. So, story was now, I want to mention Angelo Ruggiero. Angelo Ruggiero, Quack Quack, Angelo, you guys call him Quack Quack. I call him Angelo. Him and Johnny were, you know, bookends, partners in crime. You know, I come to the religion, listen, Johnny got where he was, Angelo was a key element of it. Angelo was in the street, you know, he was Johnny's focal point in the street, you know, and his connection with Neil. He became friendly with Neil. They were like related, you know, whatever that was. But all I'm saying is, you know, without Angelo, you know, Johnny wouldn't, you know, I don't think Johnny would have really got to the point he got to. Angelo was part of it, besides other people. Let me talk about Angelo. So, true story. So, Angelo, I found out, I'm realizing I'm watching this, it goes on, this is 82, 83. Angelo's narcoleptic. And Johnny lets everybody know about it. So at the Wednesday dinner, you know, and this is not a funny joke because narcolepsy is, you know, a serious problem. But Angelo was very narcoleptic. You know, Angelo was a smoker. I mean, practically a chain smoker. But I loved him. A sweetheart, good man, tough guy. And just, you know, I did. I respect him totally. So they're having dinner. It's a Wednesday night. And after dinner, and Angelo's sitting there as they're talking, and Angelo's just like nodding off. And Johnny's bumping him. Oh, Pop, get up. Oh, you know, he just narcoleptics happened to nod off. So the story was, that night they're going to play Continental. I get the box. I get the chalkboard done. I take the, you know, I get the cards out, shuffle the cards, put 2 decks of cards out. And Continental was like a gin rummy game. You know, there was a couple of decks. There were used jokers, you know. But so Angelo's playing, Johnny, Willie Boy. I think at that time it might have been Joe Butch or Joe Messina. It was 5 players, good game. And they start off nice and casual, $1,000 a man up. So the game lasted till, you know, the early mornings. Finally broke up, the game lasted, you know, and let's be honest, you know, John loved to gamble, and he didn't win much. You know, he lost a lot, but, you know, it was never a meanness when he lost. It was like almost like, all right, tomorrow's another day. But so Angelo drove home, went to Long Island, lived on Long Island. So they come back to the club, and it's a couple hours later. Johnny had to come back, goes home, showers, takes a nap, comes back, they're hanging out, and the phone's ringing in the club. It's Marie, Angelo's wife. I says, did Angelo play cards last night? And they say, yeah, Pete, I think Pete was telling. Yeah, he went home. They left about 5 a.m., 6 a.m. He says, Pete, he never got home. What do you mean? So Johnny pulls up. He tells Johnny, Johnny's a wreck. What happened to Angelo? It's 11 o'clock in the morning. They can't find the guy. So they're sharing this story with us guys around there as this happened. You know, that morning, we might not have been around there or seen it. They're not looking for Angelo. So all of a sudden, they're a wreck. They don't know. An hour goes by, half hour. Let's go take a guy's out. All of a sudden, the phone rings an hour later. It's Marie. Says, Pete, tell John they found him. You're never going to believe where they found him. What happened was, now, you could laugh about this, but Johnny laughed, but thank God he was okay. Angelo was driving, and he's a narcoleptic. He fell asleep while he was driving. He was driving on Rockaway Turnpike between the airport and Five Town, Cedarhurst area. They lived up in Cedarhurst. So he was driving down that long stretch, and he was tired. Supposedly, Angelo fell asleep while he's driving. It was all marshland, you know, weeds. And he veered off into the weeds. And supposedly, the car came to a stall, like a stall, you know what I mean? It was just gliding where it hit a telephone pole, but like bumped into it, and the car rode up the telephone pole. It stayed there. Angelo was out like a light, sleeping in the car. When security team and the cops found him, he was sleeping in the car, and the car was tilted onto the telephone pole. He's lucky he was alive, but he was missing for 5 hours. Now, of course, everybody's satisfied. Nothing happened to him, paranoid. Who knows? Somebody made a move on him, whatever it was. But he finally got him to the hospital, checked him out, and got him home. Johnny, the kidder he is, now, every time, Angelo, you can't go home, make sure somebody follows you. Johnny has fun with this. Now, he loved Angelo, but, this was the stories. It's hard to believe. The guy's car is sitting in a 45-degree angle on a pole, and he's sleeping in the car, out like a light. These are events a lot of people don't know about, but that's a true story. Now, I'm not making fun, but, Johnny tries to make light of the subject, and even Angelo. A couple of days, it comes back to the club the next day, the following day. He says, all right. He says, all right. I had my event. I know he's all enjoying it, he says. He says, but what are you going to do? He says, I'm lucky. But he says, I bet you my hand, Junior. He's called John Jr. And hey, Junior, I know Junior's having fun with it. Get it all out. It was that kind of camaraderie between each of them. But, Johnny teased him out of affection, nothing else. But that was Angelo. That shows me Angelo back then, and so them stories, a lot of things. But, so that life, a lot of it, what I seen there in them early days, let's be honest, most of the percentage of the guys in them social clubs, I know that one, a large percentage of their money-making capabilities is definitely bookmaking, policy numbers, with the numbers that African-American, the blacks from Harlem started that thing, and they took it and make it to a larger structure. But, bookmaking, because it was illegal gambling years ago, and shylocking, loan sharking. Now, that was a large percentage. Some guys made the mistake, and John always told us young guys, no dealing drugs. I catch you dealing drugs, you're getting beaten and chased. I'm telling you. And John always preached that. Now, that was my concept. I don't know but I'm telling you what he told us 20-year-olds. And we abided by that. I mean, there was kids on the first day of you 4 blocks away dealing pound a corner. We went to work on them. We chased them. Whatever it was. So, but a large percentage was the gambling. And gambling is a vice, a human vice. Loan sharking, now, if you know loan sharking is a Shakespearean thing. The Jewish business leaders in Venice in the 1600s, 1500s, they were loan sharking money. Now, loan sharking, isn't a guy sitting with a sign, money to lend, 2 points, 1 points, up to, it's not that. Most of these people who came to borrow money from them couldn't borrow money from a bank. Let's be honest. Most banks, they lend money, but what percentage of it do they lend? So they couldn't borrow money from a bank. Some were business guys, some were gamblers, some guys were tight. So they let money out. So Angelo said to me, listen, do me a favor. I said, I got to go to the city with John. I got 2 stops, make 2 stops, just to pick up money. Say hello, if they know you come, and I told them. He says, first place you're going to go to the Palestina. There's a guy there waiting there. Palestina was on the LAE, he says, on a corner. Pick up his envelope there. Just pick it up, say thank you, leave. Hold it for me. Next stop, there's an OTB in Austin Street, Forest Hills. There's a guy waiting for you, a nice guy, old man. Go see him. He's going to give you an envelope. Say hello, nice guy. So I says, I think it's now, I'm not sure, don't quote me, it's a long time ago. If his name was Murray or Bernie, I'm not sure. But I go to Palestine. Hey, how you, Mark? Yeah, how you doing? Pick it up, put it in inside my jacket. Get in the car, drive away, go to Forest Hills, pick up the envelope. And this guy, unassuming guy, looks like, honestly, he could be a rabbi or just a businessman. Just not anybody you see borrows money, hands me the money. And it's not an envelope, but it's I think it was $1,000. That's a lot of, interest rate. It's a lot of money. I go back to the club. Angelo goes to the city with John. I got his car. He jumped in the car with John. They come back in the afternoon. Angelo says, Mark, come here. Did you pick up the 2 stops? Excellent, he says. Any problems? No. I give him the money from the diner, and here's the money from the guy, Murray or Bernie. He says, Angelo, he says, that guy don't look like, where'd you find that? He says, let me tell you about that guy. Happened to be a very wealthy man. Now, this is how you think about this life and just the working life and the people's, how it manipulates, how that world. So he goes, so he comes to me. He's building buildings. He owns about 15 buildings, 20 buildings in that area, Forest Hills, Rico Park. Very successful. So he's rehabbing buildings and he's hiring contractors. And some toughs, I don't know what they were, if they were Irish or whatever, who knows, we're trying to shake him down, and he was tired of paying them. So somebody comes and says, why don't you go see the guys by the Bergen? He said, go see John, Angelo, and he says, talk to them. He says, yeah, but I don't want to get involved with them guys. No. Borrow some money. So I tell him, I said, so he's paying Angelo for like a year, $1,000 a week. The guy's worth millions. So he's telling Bernie, why don't you just pay the note off? It's only quarter. I don't forgot what it was, $100,000 or whatever it was, whatever it was. He charged him minimal points, $200,000. So he goes, he said, well, no, Angelo, know why I borrowed the money? Because I not got protection. I got free protection. So Angelo goes, starts laughing. He goes, so you're a smart guy. He says, yeah. I figured, he says, I don't want, these guys were shaking me down, stopping my job, bothering me. He said, now they know I owe you guys money, your reputation, they leave me alone. I'm happy to pay you the interest. And Angelo just laughs. He goes, hey, whatever makes you happy. This is some of the guy, a businessman worth millions, paying him juice for that sense of protection just in case he needed it. He knows Angelo's going to defend him because that's his customer. So that's the concept that I learned. So I pick up the money. Angelo explained this. So I go, wow, you think every guy who wants to borrow money is a gambler, degenerate, or no, this was, think about loan shark, Shylocking from the 1500s, Venice, all the way now. It has all different plays. So a large of their money was gambling, bookmaking. These guys lived around gambling, more so John than anybody. I mean, I put bets in for him. I mean, they had us on tape one time at his first trial. I just want to jump to this and listen to the tape. And Johnny has me putting his bets in, right? And I'm calling up Philly Broadway, and I'm putting the bets in. And Philly goes, I got his bets from him. He goes, oh, here we go again. And he bets the whole Sunday card of football, $10,000 a game. Now, you understand something? It's a lot of money. Like it's nothing. Lose 10 of them, lose 12 of them, move on to the next week, move on. This is just his personality, So guys around there adopted this personality, but like the Kid Jerry, degenerate gambler. You know what I mean? Even Jimmy Irish, who was a great guy, handle a lot of stuff. He started betting horses, $2, $4, but he became, putting bets in for John. This was just, it was addictive. But everybody was kind of, okay with it. It was okay. And, and John, he liked guys. And if he didn't like you, he didn't let you know he didn't like you. He just ignored you. There was times where John, he was mad at somebody, he just wouldn't talk to them. It wasn't about, they talk about violence. Listen, the violence, a lot of it, beating guys up, all to do because most of them guys did something wrong, stole money, lied, hurt somebody, a lot of that, and it was all self-imposed around that circle of life. Like I said, I'm not condoning the life, but this is a guy, like John was an underdog, gave a lot of guys passes, they owed money, got in trouble, he gave them chances. So, this is just grew, his magnetism grew. Was he a tough guy? Was he, he was serious, but he was also understood the human fallacy, especially when his gamblers involved. But that's some stories, and, them funny stories from the clams, to the Shylock customer, to the betting 15 games, losing 12, going to the racetrack. Johnny got thrown out of the racetrack. So him going to the racetrack, even like Belmont not going inside, wearing a cap with sunglasses, not dress up, kind of casual. He loved horses. He missed the track. But these guys got barred out of the racetrack. But he still went. No one was going to change him. So, the stories are hilarious. Playing cards. John would go play cards, a poker game, in the back. The poker game was on Sunday nights. It was mainly the guys from a neighborhood. I'm telling you, it's kind of mind-boggling. He sit there. There was even some women from a neighborhood play, and they played 2 to 10 poker, all different kind of games, no wild cards. And Johnny would sit in with them. He had nothing to do. Sunday night, I'm going to play poker. Now you got to understand something. Johnny had pockets full of money, and a lot of them guys at the table would go there with 300-400, pot shot and trying to take a shot at John. John knew it, so John would have fun gambling. That night was about laughing, joking. He'd sit there, and sometimes in Italian, little slang words, he'd give guys hints what he'd have. He never went out. He bet all the time. He threw his money in. He had a good time. So if he lost, $500,000 was worth it. So Johnny says to me, and it's a true story, I got to laugh. So he's sitting there, and he's standing. He said, Mark, he said, stay in the back. He says, just keep an eye on everything. And Jimmy Irish was cooking, running around getting guys coffee, and watching the game. And I'm leaning on the sink, and Johnny had a knack for noticing the little thing. I'm sitting on the thing. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, remember, I'm a young kid. I'm 22. And Johnny says to me, hey, Mark, can I ask you a question? He says, yeah. When I ask for a sandwich or something, please wash your hands before you wash my hands. He says, he's just sitting there and you're scratching your balls, he says, but not inside my pants, outside my pants. He says, listen, I know you're young and, edgy, he says, but you're scratching your balls in front of me. I don't want you handling my food. I didn't realize it, and it was outside my pants, but he noticed it. And says, next time, wash your hands now, so when I get a sandwich, you know what? Wash your hands, make me a fried bologna sandwich. Now, listen, I never heard of fried bologna in my life. I'm Italian, but that poor bringing up a fried bologna sandwich. Didn't fry it. They had a salamander in the kitchen, with flame. They put steaks in it and burgers and chopped. I had to get bologna from the butcher, thick cut we got for him, put a salamander, toast it on the side, put it between 2 bits of bread. He was done. That was good. That was John, a fried bologna sandwich. He didn't need lobster or filet mignon. John could come down at different angles. So the people would stare at him, watching, and he would go like this. And you look at his cards, he's going, everybody, and guys would follow him because they know he didn't care. He's like this going. And he'd say a word like this, Gazzagegna, Gazzagegna. In his Italian slang, that meant full house. Full house, but he would play Gaza game. So if you didn't understand Gaza was house, or he would say it in his offbeat Neapolitan slang. Gaza. Some guys picked up and says, "Oh, he's got a full house." Cards would go out. He didn't want to take their money. He just wanted to win. Sometimes he wanted to play. But everybody in that club was involved. And I'll say it again. I repeated it last time this show. Not one of the guys from that club around John, even from the Bergen Street from Brownsville up, testified against him. He had this way about him, So, like I said, he wasn't perfect. Nobody is. Listen, I'm not glorifying that life. I just want to pay respects to a man that was kind of unique, kind of different, And Kevin will test me from another show. Kevin has some experiences. I saved him for another show, but I want you to understand. These are stories. I wanted to give you this little tidbit. Next week I'm a little busy, got personal things to take care of, but I want you to have this. I'll post it. We'll post it today, and you got the Easter holiday, but the story's going to get better. True stories. If I can't tell a true story, I'm not going to say it. I'm not any of them guys. If the story ain't true, believe me, I know. I spent 7 days a week there. I left on my own terms in '92. For the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. John went away. Things got a little, screwy up there. This is not for me. And as you go along in the years, you'll find out, maybe that life's not for a guy like me. I told you that last time about the 2 guys saying, this is not for you, leave. And, and I'm a nobody, an associate, one in the crowd, but, ballsy, not afraid of anything, and intelligent. So I took that route, and I decided it's time to go. Before it gets to a level where I can't return, I'm out of here. And I did the right thing. I did it for my boy. I wasn't gonna let him down. I was gonna take care of. I was gonna be there for him. So that's where I was so incensed about telling the story for years. Listen, I'm a writer. I've written a couple screenplays. I've written some pilots. I love to write. And I couldn't believe all them stories just pounding, pounding. And then the constant repeated documentaries of the same retread on Netflix, on cable. The same stories told by cops, told by informants who didn't know him. This is not just who he was. Tell the people who he really was. Let them see the progression. They couldn't. They didn't know him. They didn't experience him. I got incensed. I want to tell them, listen, as menacing and bad, I want you to see the part of it that shows the progression. You know, I'm not saying he was an angel, but he was him. And everybody should know the true him from the bottom of it, you know, playing cards, eating bologna sandwich, to having sit downs with mob bosses. I think it plays. And, you know, and you deserve to know the truth. The people deserve to know the truth. About him, there's about others. Some of them I don't know. I don't know well. I know, I've met. But there's a truth. There's a truth why they went down a path, and we're going to build it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you why, and, you know, why after he went away, 92, stuff like that, you know, I decided, listen, time for me to go. Before this gets hairy, I didn't like it, and, you know, anymore, and, you know, and I got to do the right thing as a man, is take care of my boy. And I went to work, and that's how I spent the rest of my life. So, but this is me, and I think the truth should be revealed 100%. I'm a nobody. It's not about making myself look important. I'm not important. I'd rather not be important, but I'd rather live by the gut truth about people. That's why wherever I go, I mean, at least I know, I never met nobody that hates me or doesn't like me. I've been good to everybody, nice to everybody, so that's the way you should be. So we're going to, you know, this is part one of this show. I want you to, you know, don't forget, subscribe. There's going to be more. I'm going to have guests. Kevin will be here. Hopefully other people. We'll get into more stories as the years progress. Come along with me. I'm a subscriber. You know, eventually I want you to be part of the Bergen Hunters Club. It's an iconic place with an iconic man. It's not just, was there a ton of other tough guys, respectable guys from then? Absolutely. But I'm going to focus on the most iconic hoodlum, you know, tough guy. Probably most iconic is Al Capone. And all over the world, rap songs, movies, TV shows. This is a man, but I want the people to see the full aspect. He deserves that, and you deserve that. And I'm telling you, you're gonna enjoy this, and you're gonna laugh, and you're gonna shake your head the right way, for the good reasons. It's not a judgment show. It's just pure truth about that man and that Bergen Hunter Fish Club and all the characters that came through here. So stay tuned, subscribe, like it, please. The more you like it, the more you subscribe, the more shows I'll do, you know, and we'll have fun. I promise you, you'll enjoy it. I'll never disappoint you. So I'll see you soon, my friends. Ciao.